My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 66 years old. And I need you to understand something right up front. Some grief doesn't just break your heart. It reprograms you. Teaches your body new instincts, new fears. It makes you question the people you've loved the longest. And for me, it started at my husband's funeral. The cemetery in Willow Ridge looked like it had been drained of color. Gray sky, gray stones. Even the trees felt muted, like they were holding their breath out of respect, or out of dread. The pastor was talking. I could see his lips moving. But the words weren't reaching me. They were bouncing off the air and falling somewhere behind my ears. All I could focus on was the casket. Graham Carter. My husband. My partner. My constant for 42 years. A man who took up space in a room without even trying. A man who laughed with his whole chest. A man who always smelled faintly like sawdust and coffee because he was the kind of person who fixed things even when nobody asked. And now he was in a box. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't keep the tissue still. Martha, my best friend, kept rubbing my back in slow circles like she was trying to calm an animal that had been cornered. Dylan and Reese stood on my other side. My sons. They looked appropriate. That's the best word for it. Their faces were set in the expressions you'd expect at a funeral. But something in me kept noticing the details. Dylan's eyes were a little glossy, but his grief felt controlled, like he'd practiced it. Reese didn't even pretend much. He kept checking his watch like time was the enemy and he needed to beat it. I told myself I was being unfair. People grieve differently, right? Then my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it because who messages someone during a funeral? But the vibration hit my palm like a warning. Unknown number. One sentence. He's alive. I swear my whole body went rigid. Not in a dramatic way. Not like in movies. More like my blood forgot how to move. I stared at the screen. Read it again. My eyes flicked up to the casket, like the wood might crack open out of spite. Then back down. He's alive. My throat went dry. I typed with trembling thumbs. Who is this? The reply came fast. I can't say. They're watching. Don't trust your sons. I felt my stomach drop so hard I thought I might throw up right there between the headstones. Don't trust your sons. I glanced sideways. Dylan's arm was already coming around my shoulders. You okay, Mom? He asked, voice soft, concerned, almost tender. But it didn't reach me the way it should have. Because suddenly I could hear the calculation underneath it, like a quiet machine humming behind a pretty sound. I'm fine, I whispered automatically. Martha leaned close. Evie, you're white as a sheet. I didn't answer her either. Because my mind was spiraling, pulling memories like threads. Things I had ignored, things I had smoothed over because it was easier. The funeral felt wrong. Not sad wrong. Staged wrong. It was small. Too small. Graham had lived here for decades. He was the man neighbors called when a pipe burst or a car wouldn't start. He was the man kids waved at from bicycles. People knew him. So why were so few people here? Dylan had told me. Dad wanted it private. Graham wasn't private. He was stubborn and proud and loud with love. He would have wanted people there. He would have wanted stories told. He would have wanted music. Instead it was quiet. Efficient. Like someone was trying to close a file. And just as the casket started lowering into the ground, my phone buzzed again. Another message. If you want the truth, start with the money. I didn't cry. Not then. I went cold. Because Graham never hid money from me. Never. Not once in 4 decades. So why did those words land like a key turning in a lock inside my chest? And why did it feel like my sons, standing right beside me, already knew something I didn't? That night after everyone left, I went home alone. And I opened Graham's desk drawer for the first time since he died. Inside was an envelope with my name on it, written in his handwriting. And the second I read the first line, I realized. This wasn't a death. It was a setup. I didn't even turn the lights on when I walked into the house. You know that feeling when a place you've lived in for years suddenly feels unfamiliar? Like the walls are listening. Like the air has memory. That was my living room. The condolence flowers Dylan and Reese dropped off sat on the table like bright little lies. The whole house smelled like lilies and somebody else's sympathy. I wanted to sweep it all off the table. I wanted noise. I wanted anything that didn't feel like a funeral still happening inside my chest. Instead, I went straight to Graham's study. His desk was exactly how he kept it. Neat in that stubborn old-fashioned way. Pens lined up. Paper clips in a dish. The little brass lamp angled toward the chair like it was still waiting for him to sit down and mutter about bills. My hand hovered over the top drawer. I hadn't opened it since the day the hospital called. Because part of me thought, if I didn't touch his things, I wouldn't have to accept he was gone. But then I remembered the text. Start with the money. Open the drawer. The envelope was right there. Not hidden. Not buried under papers. Placed like he wanted it found. And across the front, in Graham's handwriting, steady, familiar, impossible, was my name. Evelyn. My throat tightened so fast it hurt. I sat down hard in his chair like my knees gave up at the same time. For a long moment I just held it. 'Cause the truth is, I wasn't ready to read words from him when he wasn't here to explain them. But my fingers tore it open anyway. Inside was a single page. Folded once. Simple. No dramatic letterhead. No fancy, my dearest. Just Graham being Graham. Started with one sentence. If you're reading this, then something has happened that I didn't want for you. I swallowed. My eyes burned. Not tears yet. Just that sharp sting you get when your body is trying to decide whether to fall apart or fight. The next line hit harder. Do not let Dylan or Reese handle anything alone. Froze. Like the room tilted. Because this wasn't paranoia from a stranger anymore. This was my husband. The man who taught our boys how to ride bikes. How to change a tire. How to look someone in the eye and keep their word. Graham didn't write things like that lightly. He wrote, there are accounts you don't know about. And there are people who will try to rush you. If anyone pushes you to sign something quickly, don't. Call Martha. Then call Caleb. Caleb Monroe. Graham's old friend from high school. A local attorney who'd helped us with small paperwork before. Land stuff, business stuff. I hadn't thought about him in years. I kept reading, my hands shaking now. Not from grief, from something colder. The key is taped under the third drawer. Don't tell the boys you found this. My breath came out in a thin, shaky laugh that wasn't funny at all. Because there it was again. Don't tell the boys. I looked toward the hallway like I expected Dylan and Reese to step out of the shadows. Caught mid-listen. The house was empty, but my skin still prickled. I slid my hand under the third drawer, felt around. And my fingertips brushed tape. I peeled it off slowly like I was disarming something. A small silver key fell into my palm. And attached to it, a tiny tag with a number written in black ink. Not our house key. Not a car key. A key that belonged to someplace with locks and cameras and rules. Safety deposit box. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Did you find it? I stared at the screen, my heart punching against my ribs. Because whoever this was, they weren't guessing. They knew. I didn't answer the text. Not yet. I grabbed my coat, the key, and Graham's letter. Then I heard it. Soft sound outside. Not a knock. Car door closing, in my driveway. For a second, I just sat there in Graham's chair, holding that little silver key like it was a live wire. Then I heard it again. Car door. Not on the street. Not a neighbor coming home. In my driveway. My body went instantly alert in that quiet, ugly way fear does. No screaming. No drama. Just every muscle tightening like it knows something your mind hasn't accepted yet. I killed the lamp and slid out of the chair. The house went dark except for the faint glow of my phone screen. My pulse was so loud I could hear it in my ears. I crept to the front window and lifted the curtain just enough to peek. A dark sedan sat at the end of the driveway. Engine off. Lights off. Someone stepped out. I couldn't see their face clearly. Just a shape, moving slow, like they weren't in a hurry because they already knew they had time. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Don't open the door. I stared at the message, then back at the silhouette outside. My mouth went dry. My hand tightened around the phone so hard my knuckles ached. I didn't open the door. But I also didn't stand there like a frightened statue. I moved, quietly, quickly, back to the study and shoved Graham's letter into the bottom drawer beneath a stack of old receipts. The key I slipped into my pocket, deep enough that it pressed against my thigh. Then I heard footsteps on the porch. Not heavy, controlled, and then the doorknob turned. Just once. Testing. My breath caught. I stayed still. Then a knock. Almost polite. Mom! A voice called. Froze. 'Cause I knew that voice. Dylan. I didn't answer. He knocked again. Little harder. Mom, open up. Please. My mind raced. Why was he here? It hadn't even been that long since the funeral. He'd said he was going home to his wife. He'd told me he'd call in the morning. So why was he in my driveway? In the dark. Trying the handle like he wasn't sure the door would be locked. I walked to the door but I didn't unlock it. I spoke through the wood, keeping my voice as steady as I could. Dylan, what are you doing here? Then his tone changed, still soft but tighter around the edges. I couldn't sleep. I was worried about you. Worried. That word should have warmed me. Instead it landed cold. I said, I'm fine. Go home. He exhaled like I was being difficult, like I was a problem he needed to manage. Mom, please. Just open the door. I need to talk to you. It's important. Talk tomorrow. Another pause. Longer this time. Then quietly. Did you go into Dad's study? My stomach dropped. I didn't answer fast enough. And that was my mistake. Because Dylan's voice sharpened, just slightly. Mom, did you find something? I felt the key in my pocket like it was burning. I forced myself to sound calm. No, I'm tired. Go home. He laughed. One short breath, no humor in it. Okay, fine. Stay locked up in there. Then he said something that made my blood turn to ice. Just remember. If you make the wrong move, you don't just hurt yourself. My fingers went numb on the doorknob. What did you say? I whispered. Dylan's voice came low, almost gentle again, like he was leaning close to the door. I'm trying to protect you, Mom. You don't understand what you're stepping into. I backed away from the door, shaking. And then my phone lit up with one more message from the unknown number. He's not here alone. The moment my phone flashed, he's not here alone, I looked through the curtain again, and my heart just stopped. Because Dylan's silhouette wasn't the only one on my porch. There was a second shape, half hidden near the railing. Someone standing just out of the porch light's reach, like they didn't want me to see their face. But they wanted me to feel them there. I stepped back from the window so fast the curtain slipped from my fingers and fell into place. My mouth went dry. Dylan knocked again, harder this time. Mom, open the door. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Then I heard him do it again, the quiet twist of the doorknob, like he was testing whether fear had made me careless. I pressed my palm against my chest, trying to slow my breathing, thinking like Graham always told me to. Don't panic. Don't perform. Just decide. My eyes snapped to the side table in the hallway, where I kept the spare keys. I grabbed them and slipped them into my pocket, then moved down the hall toward the back of the house. Another knock. Dylan's voice lowered, almost intimate. Mom, please. Don't make this harder. Harder. As if I was the one doing something wrong. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Back door. Now. I didn't question it. Not anymore. I crept into the kitchen. The house felt too loud. Every floorboard, every breath, every tiny sound amplified by terror. I reached for the back door lock and turned it as quietly as I could. And that's when I heard it. A step. Not on the porch this time. On the side of the house. Gravel crunching. My stomach flipped. They were circling. I froze with my hand still on the knob, listening. My mind tried to talk me out of it. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's just Dylan. Maybe I'm imagining. But then a voice, low and unfamiliar, murmured outside. I couldn't make out the words. Only the tone. The kind of tone men use when they're discussing something they already own. I backed away from the door and swallowed a sound that wanted to climb out of my throat. I needed help. Real help. I pulled up Martha's number and hit call. She answered on the first ring, half asleep. Evie. Martha, I whispered. Someone is outside my house. What? Her voice sharpened instantly. Are you alone? Dylan's here, I said. And there's someone with him. Beat of silence. Then Martha said very carefully, Evie, get your purse. Get your keys. Do you have somewhere you can lock yourself in? I'm in the kitchen. Okay. Listen to me. Don't open any doors. Don't talk to them. I'm calling Caleb. Caleb. Graham had written his name like a lifeline. My phone buzzed again. They want the key. My blood went cold. They knew about the key. Which meant Dylan wasn't guessing. He was hunting. From the front of the house, Dylan raised his voice. Not shouting, just loud enough to carry. Mom. This is getting ridiculous. Then the second voice spoke. Closer now, near the back. You sure she's in there? Dylan answered without hesitation. She is. She always locks up when she's scared. My legs went weak. 'Cause he said it like a fact. Like a strategy. Like he'd studied me. Martha whispered into my ear. Evie, Caleb's on his way to me. You need to get out when you can. Do you have a garage door opener? I looked toward the mudroom, where the opener sat on a hook by the laundry. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. Yes. Okay, she said, voice shaking now with anger. When I say go, you go. And you come straight to my house. Do you hear me? Clenched my jaw. I hear you. Because suddenly I understood something that made my skin crawl. This wasn't just grief. This wasn't just family tension. This was a planned move. And I was the last piece they needed. I reached for the garage opener, hands trembling, when my phone lit up one more time. Not a text. A voicemail notification. From a blocked number. And the preview line beneath it made my vision blur. Evelyn, it's Graham. Don't trust anyone. I hit play on the voicemail. And I swear to you my whole body turned to ice. Not because it was a dramatic message. Not because it was long. Because the voice on the other end was him. Low. Familiar. Tired in a way I'd only heard after he'd been working all day and pretending he wasn't exhausted. Evelyn, it's Graham. I clapped a hand over my mouth like that could keep my soul from spilling out of me. He continued, quick and controlled, like he knew time was limited. Listen to me. Don't trust anyone. Not even Dylan. Not even Reese. If they're there, you leave. You leave right now. My eyes blurred. I stumbled backward until my spine hit the kitchen counter. The room felt too small for the reality I'd just swallowed. Outside, Dylan's voice carried through the front door again. Sharp now, impatient. Mom. Open up. In the voicemail, Graham's tone tightened. They're going to push you to sign things. They're going to tell you it's for your safety. It's not. It's for theirs. A sound cracked out of me. Half sob, half laugh, because what do you even call this? A funeral in the afternoon. And your husband's voice in your ear at night. I played the voicemail again. And again. Like repetition could turn it into something I could understand. Then Graham said the part that made my knees almost give out. If you found my letter, you already know. Key. It opens what you need. But you can't go alone. Go to Martha. Caleb will explain. Trust them. The message ended with one last breath, like he was leaning close. I'm sorry. I tried to stop this. Beep. Silence. And then, right on cue, my phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. Garage. They're coming around back. I didn't think. Just moved. I grabbed my purse, shoved the key deeper into my pocket, and snatched my coat off the chair. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely work the mudroom latch to reach the garage door opener. Another thud sounded at the front door. Dylan wasn't knocking anymore. He was hitting it, hard enough that the frame vibrated. "Mom!" he yelled, voice cracking into anger. "I'm not playing games." And then quieter, too quiet, he added, "I know you're in there." My throat tightened, 'cause I heard something else. Second set of footsteps. Not on the porch. Along the side of the house. Gravel. Low. Intentional. Like whoever it was didn't need to rush. Like they already believed I was trapped. I pressed the garage button. The door began to rise with that awful, loud mechanical grind that felt like it could be heard from space. I flinched, every sound scraping my nerves raw. As the gap widened, cold air rushed in, and with it, the faint shape of my driveway under the moonlight. My car sat there like my only lifeboat. I ran to it, fumbling with my keys. And then I saw him. Not Dylan. The other one. A man standing just beyond the garage opening, partly hidden in the darkness. Taller than Dylan. Broader. Wearing a cap pulled low. He didn't step forward. He just stood there, calm. And looked straight at me like he was confirming something. Yep. That's her. My breath got stuck. He lifted one hand. Not waving, not greeting. Pointing. Toward my pocket. Toward the key. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. Behind me, through the house, I heard the front door rattle again, stronger. And then Dylan's voice, muffled but close. "Reese, go around. Now." Reese. My second son. Not home. Not sleeping. Not uninvolved. He was here. And in that split second, staring at the stranger in my driveway, I realized the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was the fact they'd planned it like a business deal. And I was the asset. Reese stepped into the slice of garage light like he belonged there. Like this was normal. Like it wasn't midnight and I wasn't shaking and my husband's voicemail wasn't still echoing in my skull. He lifted a hand, palm out, the way you stop traffic. "Mom," he said, breath steady. "Don't do anything stupid." Stupid. That word hit me like a slap. Because I wasn't holding a weapon. I wasn't screaming. I was just trying to get to my car with my purse and my grief and a key that suddenly felt like the most dangerous object in Willow Ridge. Behind him, Dylan's voice came from the house. Muffled, sharp, urgent. "Get her." And the stranger in the driveway. The one with the cap pulled low. Didn't rush. He didn't need to. He just watched like he was waiting for the boys to deliver a package. Me. Reese took a slow step closer. "Mom, listen. We can talk about this." "Talk." My voice came out thin. "You're here. You told me you were going home." He didn't even flinch. "Plans changed." That's all he said. Like my entire life was a schedule he could rearrange. I tightened my grip on my keys and backed toward the driver's door. My hands were trembling so badly the key teeth clinked against each other. Reese followed, one step at a time, calm as a banker. "Mom," he said, softer now. "You're upset. You're confused. Give me the what?" I snapped, and my own voice surprised me. "Finish the sentence." His jaw tightened. Just for a second. Then he tried again like he was choosing words carefully. "Give me whatever you found in Dad's desk. We can handle it for you. Handle it for me." Like I was already a problem they'd solved. The stranger shifted his weight just slightly, and I realized he wasn't here as backup. He was here as pressure. Reese's eyes flicked to my pocket. "Mom, please." My throat burned. "Please. You came here with Dylan and some man I don't even know, and you're saying please?" Reese's voice dropped lower. "Because if you don't, it gets messy." My stomach flipped. "Messy how?" I whispered. He didn't answer. That silence was the answer. I reached the driver's door and yanked it open. Too fast, too loud. My body moved on pure instinct. I slid into the seat, slammed the door, and locked it so hard my thumb hurt. Reese's hand hit the window. Not punching. Not yet. Just a firm tap. Like he was still pretending this was a conversation between family. "Open it," he said, voice flat now. I fumbled the key into the ignition. And then Dylan appeared at the edge of the garage opening, face tight with frustration. He looked at me, really looked. And for the first time that night I saw it clearly. Not concern. Not grief. Ownership. "Mom," Dylan said, "stop. You're making this worse." I started the engine. The stranger stepped closer, finally. Close enough for me to see a hint of his face under the cap. Older, hard-eyed, expressionless. He pointed again, straight at me, then made a small twisting motion with his fingers. Key. My heart pounded. And then, because I didn't have strength but I had stubbornness, I hit the horn. One long blast. Then another. And another. The sound screamed through the quiet neighborhood like a siren. Reese's eyes widened, just a flicker. Dylan's head snapped left and right. The stranger stiffened. Lights clicked on in a neighbor's window. Porch light flared. And for the first time all night, the men outside looked uncertain. I threw the car into reverse. Reese moved fast. Too fast, stepping behind the car. I stopped short, breath ragged, hands sweating on the wheel. He leaned down to the driver's window, eyes hard now, voice barely contained. "Mom," he hissed, "you don't want to do this." I stared back, shaking, and said the only truth I had left. "I don't know who you are anymore." Something in his face snapped. And Dylan shouted, "Reese, move." Reese stepped aside just enough. I reversed hard, tires crunching gravel, then swung the wheel and shot forward out of the driveway. Heart in my throat, tears blurring my vision, horn still echoing behind me. In the mirror I saw headlights flick on. Not one set. They were coming after me. I drove straight toward Martha's house. And halfway there, red and blue lights suddenly exploded behind me. A police siren hooped once. And a voice on a loudspeaker ordered, "Evelyn Carter, pull over. Now." But when I looked in the rearview mirror, my blood turned cold. Because the patrol car behind me wasn't from the next town. It was Willow Ridge. And I knew the officer driving it. The moment those red and blue lights filled my rearview mirror, my first thought wasn't I'm getting pulled over. It was, they got to the police before I got to Martha. My hands were locked on the steering wheel so tight my fingers went numb. My throat felt sealed shut, like my body had decided breathing was optional now. The loudspeaker crackled again. "Evelyn Carter, pull over. Now." I slowed, blinking hard through tears, scanning the road like there might be an escape route that didn't scream guilty. There wasn't. Just dark houses, bare trees. A stretch of asphalt that suddenly felt like a hallway with no doors. I pulled onto the shoulder. The patrol car stopped behind me, angled in that way cops do when they want you to know you're pinned. Headlights blasted through my back window. My whole car became a stage. I sat there for one breath. Then the driver's door of the patrol car opened. And I saw him. Officer Trent Mallory. Willow Ridge's golden boy. Local hero. The man who'd shaken Graham's hand at community fundraisers and laughed like they were friends. He walked up slow, one hand near his belt, the other holding a flashlight like a prop. His face was calm. "Come." He leaned in and tapped my window. "Evenin', Mrs. Carter." I cracked the window just a sliver, enough to hear, not enough to invite him in. "Trent," I whispered, voice shaking. "Thank God. Someone's been." He cut me off with a tight smile. "You're driving erratic. We got a call." "A call from who?" I asked, and even as the words left my mouth, I already knew. His eyes flicked, just for a second, toward my passenger seat, toward my purse, then down, toward my pocket, where the key sat like a secret heartbeat. "We're concerned about you," he said. "It's been a hard day. Your boys are worried sick." My stomach dropped. "Don't," I said, barely audible. "Don't tell me my boys called you." He sighed like I was being unreasonable. "Mrs. Carter, they said you ran out of the house in a panic. Said you were confused." Confused. That word again. Like it was a diagnosis they'd all agreed on. I swallowed, forcing steadiness into my voice. "I'm not confused." I'm on my way to my friend Martha's house. Trent's expression didn't change, but his tone sharpened. No, ma'am. I think it's best you come with me. We'll get you settled. Somewhere safe. Safe. I repeated, and it came out like a laugh that didn't belong to me. You mean the station? He held up his hand like he was calming a child. Just for the night. We'll contact your family. My skin went cold. Don't call them, I said. Call Martha. Call Caleb Monroe. The name landed like a stone. Trent's eyes shifted, tiny, but I saw it. Recognition. Calculation. He straightened a little. Why would you need a lawyer, Evelyn? I stared at him, heart slamming. He hadn't said Mrs. Carter that time. He said my first name. Like we were all on the same side. Because I feel threatened, I said. And I want it on record. Trent's jaw tightened. He glanced back toward his car, then back at me. Step out of the vehicle, he ordered. My phone buzzed in my lap. Unknown number. Dashcam. He wants you isolated. Start recording. My fingers trembled as I tapped my camera on. Quietly, angled low, catching his badge in his face. I looked up at him and forced my voice to carry. Officer Mallory. Are you ordering a grieving widow out of her car at midnight because her sons told you to? His face flickered, just a flash of anger, then smoothed. Evelyn, he said through clenched patience. Step out. And behind him, far down the road, I saw headlights crest the hill. Two sets. Dylan. He's closing in. Trent leaned closer, voice dropping so only I could hear. Hand over what you took from Graham's desk, he murmured. And this stays easy. Then he reached for my door handle. And I realized this wasn't a traffic stop. It was a handoff. When Trent's hand closed around my door handle, something primal snapped awake in me. Not courage. Not bravery. Just the raw instinct of a woman who finally understands she's standing in the wrong story. And the people with badges and blood ties are playing the villains. Don't, I said, voice shaking, but steady enough to surprise even me. He paused, eyes narrowing. Mrs. Carter. My name is Evelyn, I cut in, and I hated that my voice sounded like a plea. And you're not opening my door without telling me why I'm being detained. His expression tightened. You're not detained. Then I'm leaving, I said, and my hand moved toward the gear shift. His palm slapped the window hard. The sound made me flinch. You leave and I'll call it evading, he said, like he was reading a menu. My phone was still recording, angled low. I prayed it was catching enough. His voice, his face, his tone. I swallowed and forced myself to speak slowly, clearly. Officer Mallory, I said, I'm asking you to call Martha Holloway. He laughed under his breath, a tiny sound full of contempt. Martha's not who you think she is, he said. My heart stuttered. What does that mean? I whispered. His eyes flicked down again, my pocket. My purse. Key. It means you've been kept comfortable, he said softly. And now you're making it everyone's problem. Then he stepped back and his tone turned official. Loud enough for the night air to hear. Evelyn Carter, step out of the vehicle. And that's when the headlights appeared behind him, rolling up slow like a funeral procession. Dylan's SUV. Reese's car. They parked behind the patrol car, blocking the road like they'd practiced it. Like they'd done it before. Dylan got out first. He walked up with his hands raised in that fake friendly way, like he was approaching a scared dog. Mom, he called, voice dripping with concern. Please. You're scaring everyone. Reese followed, face tight, jaw working like he was chewing anger. Trent glanced at them, then back at me, and I saw the moment they all silently agreed on the next move. Contain. Control. Collect. Dylan bent down toward my window, eyes wide, gentle voice on. Mom, you're not thinking straight. We just want you safe. I stared at him, breath ragged. Safe from who, Dylan? He flinched like I'd insulted him. Reese stepped closer, voice low and sharp. Stop making this dramatic. I let out a sound that was almost a sob. Dramatic. You followed me. You brought a cop. You brought. I cut myself off because I suddenly remembered the stranger with the cap. The one who pointed at my pocket. Where was he now? My eyes darted across the scene. And then I saw him. He wasn't in the open. He was standing in the shadow near the tree line, half hidden behind Trent's patrol car, watching with the calm patience of a man who didn't fear consequences. Because consequences didn't apply to him. Dylan said, "Mom, just give Reese the key. That's all. Then we go home." I stared at him like he'd spoken a language I didn't recognize. "How do you know about the key?" asked. His mouth tightened. Reese answered instead. "Because Dad told us." The lie was so clean it almost sounded believable. But Graham's voicemail burned in my memory. "Don't trust Dylan. Don't trust Reese." Trent leaned in again, voice dropping like a threat wrapped in velvet. "You hand it over," he said, "or I can make this ugly. And you don't want to be the grieving widow who needs to be restrained on the roadside." Restrained. The word hit me like a cage snapping shut. I looked at Dylan. "You'd let him do that to me?" Dylan's eyes didn't move. He just said, "Mom, don't force us." Force us. Like they were the victims. My mind raced, searching for any crack. Any human mercy. That's when I remembered the phone. The recording. And something else. My car had an emergency feature. An SOS button built into the console. Graham insisted we get it after that winter storm a few years back. Said it was just in case. My fingers slid slowly toward it. Hidden low near my knee. Trent saw the movement. His eyes sharpened. "No," he snapped. "Too late." Pressed it. A bright red light blinked on the dashboard. A robotic voice filled the car. "Emergency services have been notified." Trent's face twisted with fury. Dylan's concern shattered. And Reese said through clenched teeth, "Mom, you just made this a war." Then Trent yanked his radio up and barked one command that made my stomach drop. "Cancel that call. Now." When Trent barked, "Cancel that call. Now," I felt something inside me go very still. Not fear. Not grief. A kind of clarity that only shows up when you finally accept the truth. If a police officer is terrified of emergency services being notified, then the danger isn't in my head. It's in front of me. Trent's hand shot toward my open window, fingers reaching like he meant to grab my phone, my keys, my throat, anything that would put control back where he wanted it. I jerked away, pressed my back into the seat, and forced my voice out. Louder this time, stronger. "My phone is recording," I said. The words hung in the air like a flare. Dylan's face flickered. Just for a second. Panic. Reese's nostrils flared as his jaw clenched harder. Trent froze for half a beat. Then his expression snapped back into that official mask. "You're hysterical," he said loudly for the camera. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle." I didn't move. I looked straight at Dylan and said, "Tell me the truth. Right now. Why are you doing this?" Dylan's eyes darted to Trent like he needed permission. That was answer enough. But then Dylan leaned closer, voice low, pleading like he was the wounded one. "Mom, you don't understand. Dad left a mess. We're trying to fix it." "A mess," I repeated. My voice shook, but it didn't break. "You buried him today. And you're calling him a mess." Reese cut in, impatient. "Stop talking like that. You don't know what he did." That made me go cold. "What he did?" I whispered. "What are you saying?" Reese glanced at Trent again, then back at me. "Dad made some decisions. Bad ones." My heart pounded. "Like what?" Dylan answered quickly, like he wanted to control the narrative before it got away from him. "There's money," he said. "Debt. People involved. Dangerous people. The kind that don't care that you're our mother." I stared at him, breath shallow. And there it was, finally a hint of the real story. Not the whole thing. Not yet. But enough to see the outline. I said, "And the key?" Reese's eyes flashed. "The key opens the box. The box has what they want. And if we don't give it to them, they come for us." "Who?" I demanded. Dylan swallowed. You don't want to know. I looked past them to the tree line. To the stranger in the cap. Still standing there like a shadow that belonged to the night. I think I already do, I said. Trent's radio crackled. A dispatcher's voice faint in the static, confirming an emergency ping, asking for location. Trent's face darkened. He stepped closer to my door, voice dropping, venomous now. Turn it off. Or I will arrest you. For what? Shot back. For pressing an SOS button. He leaned in, eyes hard. For obstruction. For disorderly conduct. For whatever I need. My stomach turned. 'Cause he said it like it was easy. Like the law was clay in his hands. Dylan's voice shifted again. Softer, desperate. Mom, please. Just give us the key. We'll handle the deposit box. You go home. You rest. I laughed once, short, bitter. You want me to go home? After you just tried to break into my house. Reese slammed his palm against my window so hard the glass rattled. Enough. The sound made me flinch, but I held my ground. I could feel something changing in me. A line being crossed. I wasn't their mother in that moment. I was their obstacle. And they were willing to hurt me to clear the path. Trent reached for my door handle again. But before he could pull it, a new set of headlights crested the hill from the opposite direction. Fast. Bright. Car slowed, then stopped several yards ahead of us. A woman stepped out. Solid. Walking with purpose like fury had given her bones. Martha. She marched toward the scene without hesitation, phone in hand, filming, her voice sharp enough to cut metal. What the hell is going on? She yelled. Trent stiffened. Dylan's face drained. Reese muttered. No. Martha pointed her camera straight at Trent's badge. Officer Mallory, you want to explain why you're surrounding a grieving widow with her sons at midnight. Trent's jaw tightened. Ma'am, step back. Martha didn't step back. She stepped closer. I already called Caleb, she said, voice like a warning. And I called County Dispatch. They're sending a unit that isn't under your little local buddies. The air shifted. Even the stranger in the shadows moved. Just a step, like he was recalculating. Trent's eyes flashed, and for the first time, he looked uncertain. Martha leaned toward my window, eyes fierce. Evie, she whispered. Do you have the key? He nodded. And Martha said the words that made my stomach drop harder than any siren ever could. Good. Because Caleb just told me. Graham didn't die. He disappeared. And then Trent reached for his radio again. Voice tight with urgency. Unit en route, cancel. We've got it under control. But Martha snapped louder, recording everything. No, you don't. And somewhere behind Trent, the stranger in the cap finally stepped into the light. The stranger in the cap stepped into the light. And the first thing I noticed wasn't his height or his stance, or even the way Trent suddenly went stiff. 'Twas this. He didn't look at me like a threat. He looked at me like a problem that needed to be removed. Like I was a loose end. He stopped beside Trent's patrol car, close enough that the glow from the headlights caught the lower half of his face. Clean-shaven. Thin lips. A calmness that didn't belong on a roadside at midnight. Martha's phone stayed up, recording. Her voice didn't shake. Who are you? She demanded. The man didn't answer her. He didn't even glance at her camera. He looked straight at Trent and said low and flat, This is taking too long. Trent's jaw flexed. We had it handled. The man's eyes slid to Dylan and Reese. Then handle it. My stomach turned. Because that little exchange, those 3 sentences, told me everything my sons had been trying to hide. This wasn't a family dispute. This was an operation. Martha stepped forward again, fearless, voice sharp. Officer Mallory, County Dispatch is already aware of this stop. And I'm live streaming. Trent's face tightened like he tasted something bitter. He turned toward her with that fake authority again. Ma'am, you need to. No, Martha cut him off, and I swear, I've never loved her more than in that moment. You need to explain why Evelyn's sons are coordinating with you like you're all on the same payroll. Dylan snapped. That's not. Martha spun on him. Shut up, Dylan. He flinched. Actually flinched. And for a second I saw the little boy he used to be. Before the suits, before the smooth lies, before the way his eyes started measuring everything in profit and leverage. Reese stepped in angry. Martha, back off. Martha laughed once. Cold. Or what, Reese? You'll restrain me too. The man in the cap finally spoke again, this time toward Dylan and Reese, like Martha wasn't even there. Get the key, he said. Now. My skin went tight. I lifted my chin. It's not happening. He looked at me for the first time with actual attention. Mrs. Carter, he said, polite as poison. You don't understand the situation. I understand enough, I said, voice trembling but loud. You came to my house. You brought my sons. You brought an officer. And you wanted me alone. Silence. Then Dylan's voice softened, begging almost. Mom, please. Just give it to us and it's over. It's never over with people like you, I whispered. Martha leaned closer to my window. Evie, she said quietly, keep recording. County's unit is 10 minutes out. 10 minutes. That should have felt like relief. Instead it felt like a countdown. Because Trent glanced at the man in the cap, and the man gave the smallest nod. And Trent made a decision. He took one step closer to my door and said louder, official again, performing for any imaginary audience. Evelyn Carter, step out of the vehicle or you will be removed. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. Martha raised her phone higher. Do it, she challenged. Touch her. On camera. Trent hesitated just a second. And in that second, I did something I didn't know I still had in me. I reached into my pocket. Not to hand over the key. To hold it up where everyone could see it. Tiny silver thing. So small. So powerful. I looked at Dylan. You want it. Then you tell me the truth. Right now. Who is he? Dylan's mouth opened, then closed. Reese's eyes flicked to the man in the cap like he was afraid to say his name out loud. And the stranger's calm finally cracked into something colder. He took one step toward my car and said very softly, because if she finds out who I am, she won't just keep the key. He smiled. Me. She'll burn the whole town down. Then, far behind us, another siren rose in the distance. Not Trent's. A deeper one. Only. And the man in the cap leaned toward Trent and whispered something I couldn't hear. But Trent's face went pale. And Dylan said, under his breath like a confession, Mom, Dad didn't disappear from us. He disappeared from him. The county cruiser rolled up with that heavier siren. And the man in the cap didn't flinch. He just exhaled like someone annoyed by bad timing. But Trent looked like his spine turned to water. A county deputy stepped out, tall, broad, calm, and the first thing he did wasn't look at me. He looked at Trent. Mallory, he said, voice flat. Step away from the vehicle. Trent tried to smile. Tried to play it smooth. Deputy, this is a wellness situation. Step away, the deputy repeated louder. Then he glanced at Martha's phone. Ma'am, keep recording. That sentence alone. It did something to me. Because for the first time all night, somebody with authority sounded like they were actually here for the truth. The man in the cap finally moved. One step back, blending toward the shadows again. But County wasn't just one car. Another cruiser slid in behind the first. Then a third. And suddenly the road didn't belong to Dylan and Reese and their little network of control anymore. It belonged to the real world. Martha came around to my window and squeezed my hand through the crack. You're okay, she whispered. You're okay. Keep breathing. Tried. I really tried. Dylan took a step forward, face tight. This is a misunderstanding. The deputy turned his head slowly. You Dylan Carter. Dylan hesitated. Yes. Reese Carter. Reese's jaw clenched. Yeah. Then both of you step back. Now. And the most shocking part. They listened. Not because they respected the deputy, but because for the first time they didn't know what strings to pull. Trent's radio crackled again. He reached for it, then stopped when the deputy's eyes pinned him. And Martha, bless her, held her camera steady like a weapon made of light. Then headlights swung in from the other end of the road, and a familiar car pulled up fast. Caleb Monroe got out before it even fully stopped. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He walked up with that quiet, terrifying confidence of a man who knows exactly where the law ends and where consequences begin. "Evelyn," he said gently, "do you have the key?" My fingers shook as I lifted it into view. Caleb nodded once. "Good. Don't hand it to anyone except me." The man in the cap took one more step, like he was considering something desperate. Caleb's eyes flicked to him and held there. "Harland Voss," Caleb said, like he was reading a name off a gravestone. The man's face didn't change, but his eyes did. And that was when I knew. This wasn't just local gossip. This was real. This was big. Martha sucked in a breath. "Oh my God, it's him." Dylan's voice cracked. "Mom, you don't get it." "Stop," I said. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just final. Dylan froze like he'd never heard that tone from me before. I looked at both my sons, and it felt like staring at strangers wearing familiar faces. "I buried your father today," I said, voice shaking. "And you used my grief like a lockpick." Reese's eyes flickered, something wet forming there for the first time. "We didn't have a choice." I stared at him. "You always have a choice." County deputies moved in. The man in the cap, Harland, backed up again, but this time there was nowhere to disappear. Trent's shoulders sagged when the deputy told him to turn around. When the cuffs clicked, Trent's face crumpled into rage. "This is insane," he hissed. "You don't know what you're doing." But Martha's camera did. And so did my phone. And so did the truth, finally crawling out into the open where it couldn't be buried. The next morning, Caleb took me and Martha to the bank. My hand shook so hard I could barely fit the key into the lock. And when the safety deposit box opened, my breath left my body. Flash drive. Folder of documents. Photos. Transfers. And a final envelope. Evelyn. Inside, Graham's handwriting again. "If you're reading this, you did it. You stayed standing. I'm sorry I let it reach you. But I needed you safe long enough for the evidence to land." Then my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I answered anyway. And the voice on the other end, soft, familiar, wrecking me in the best way, said, "Evie, it's me." I didn't collapse. I didn't scream. I just closed my eyes and whispered, "Where are you?" "Close," he said. "And I'm coming home the right way." With the truth. Later, when I finally saw him, alive, real, exhausted, I didn't ask why first. I just held his hands and said, "We're done being controlled." Because that's the lesson I'm keeping, and I'm giving it to you too. Sometimes the hardest betrayal isn't from strangers. It's from people who count on your silence. But your life is still yours. Your voice is still yours. And the moment you choose yourself, everything changes. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've lived through something similar, share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.